Hi, everybody. It's Mo Bunnell, your host here at Real Relationships, Real Revenue, author of The Snowball System and trainer to over 15,000 deeply technical experts all over the world on sound and authentic business development techniques. Hey, I have a treat for you today. I've interviewed David Marquet. He is a former nuclear submarine commander that basically took his sub from worst to first in the Navy and is the best-selling author of Turn the Ship Around. And really, really awesome book. And I've chosen actually to grab his latest book. It's called Leadership as Language. It's fantastic. And interview David in 4 different episodes to get his insights on his one big idea on how we can do better with our business development using the techniques in Leadership is Language, which I love the book. And then we're going to ask him specifically, how can we do a better job of growing or managing our opportunities, growing or managing our relationships? And then our 4th episode is going to be about managing ourselves, hacking our own habits, using the systems that he's learned as a ridiculously successful commander of a nuclear powered sub in the Navy, and then his incredible work as an intent-based leadership, his organization that has just trained thousands and thousands of people on leadership skills. Really cool stuff, really nice alignment with what we teach in the Snowball System and our Grow Big training, and it's pretty cool. So, hey, before we get started in this first episode, if you want our great weekly complimentary tips on how you can get better at business development, just head over to growbigplaybook.com, and you'll be able to sign up there. There's no charge to it, and you get insights dropped right into your inbox every single week. It's awesome. So without further ado, let's get into the interview with David. He crushes this first question, which is all about what is his big idea to help us get better at business development. David Marquet, I'm so excited to have you here on Real Relationships, Real Revenue. I absolutely loved Leadership as Language. I devoured it. And the thing I thought was interesting, David, was how you can apply your framework, your 6 plays about communication, not just to internal organizations and people that report to you. And that was most of the examples in the book. I loved it. But especially I thought we can use it to apply those plays dynamically to our client relationships, which is in our audience. Somebody has a deep expertise, 1 foot in the delivery of some kind of complex service, and 1 foot into retaining it and growing it or finding the next client. And being transparent and authentic about your communication when doing that with clients is one of the most critical things to be successful deepening relationships. So in this first episode, I know we're going to take 4 of these, but in this first one, I was wondering from your perspective, when you think about that context, when you think about how important it is to build trust and deepen relationships over a long time and be aligned, what one big idea do you have around how to use leadership as language, those 6 plays that you have in your book? Give us a quick overview of those and how they could be used in a client perspective.
Yeah, so the basic idea, first of all, thank you, Mo. Thanks for inviting me on your show with your and a chance to interact with the people who trust you. So the big idea, the hypothesis behind the book is that the language that we use today is the language that we've inherited from our parents, who inherited from their parents, and so on. So basically, it's an industrial age language. And in the past, language does adapt and change as work and society adapts and change. But the changes in society and work have been relatively slow. And the language, which changes over sort of about a 2-3 generational time span, has been able to keep up. And that coupling is broken. So work and society are changing more rapidly than the languages. So we need to sort of kind of force the language into the new approach. And so the problem is we would hear leaders, we would hear teams talking in an industrial age way. I would hear myself using industrial age phrases when I deliberately and expressly desired not to use industrial age phrases. And I was like, why am I talking this way? Well, why do I say, for example, why do I ask a binary question, which is, well, will that work? Or are you sure? Which narrows the range of options, it reduces thinking, and it makes it harder for someone to say, yeah, no, I'm not sure. And another example is I would tend to make an explanation, and then I would tag on a little. I'd say blah 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 blah, right? Blah 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 blah. Does that make sense? And I'm like, why am I saying that? Because again, that just makes it a little harder for someone to say no. That doesn't seem right. So it's all self-help. And so we looked at teams, we looked at language, and you're right, it is very internally focused. But I think there is a lesson when you go externally. One of the most common, the underlying theme behind the industrial age in terms of human connections is what I called, it's the place called conform. We fit into our hierarchical position, and trying to disrupt that hierarchy is met with fraud. And so, for example, I was talking. So my son, this is several years ago, my son was interested in a job with a foreign service. He happened to be walking through an office, a government office, where a senior foreign service officer, someone who he'd met just sort of tangentially maybe a year earlier, but he recognized the person, and the person's door was open. He's kind of walking through as a prospective interviewee. So he just goes into the office. He's telling me afterwards. So I kind of got a weird look from the guy. He's like, yeah, well, you're violating this hierarchy. Like, you don't just walk into an office. You got and so the thing is, we conform, and the antidote to conform is connect. And so what we need to do is retrain ourselves to not try and conform, but to connect. And we establish power differences and power gradients and trappings of power. And we make thicker carpets for the CEO than the rest of the people, and a bigger office, and all these trappings to create this hierarchical structure where we all know where we sit on the pecking order. And it's not the best for humans for thinking. It's not the best for humans for their health, to say, well, you're lower on the hierarchy than me. And I think we develop these things with our clients, and we have to overcome that language and use connect language. Connect language, to me, how do you do that? Number one, it's about being vulnerable, but not sharing too much. It's incremental intimacy. It's about also posturing, not posturing that you know all the answers, taking the client on the journey with you, the learning journey. It's about reinforcing this idea of getting better, as opposed to trying to present an invulnerable shell of, I know all the answers. You're hiring me because I know all the answers. Yeah, it starts because I'm hiring you because I sense that you have answers in a specific area that may help me. But when they come to you with a new problem that perhaps you haven't seen before, you got a couple approaches. You can say, hey, this is really interesting. We've done some stuff similar. Never engaged in this, and be honest with the client. Or you can say, oh, yeah, of course we know what to do here. We've done this a million times. I think the connection path is the way to go. I think humans are very shrewd in this way, and they will know if you're not being authentic. In other words, if you're not being appropriately vulnerable, and you're going to take them on the journey with you.
What? This is so good. I know you saw me smiling from ear to ear. I was laughing in my mind because I was thinking, people are watching a show with a former nuclear submarine commander and a former actuary talking about leadership as language. I think that's funny.
Yeah, I know. It's funny. It's funny. Like so you realize how bizarre it is to be hearing about a submarine commander talking about feelings and vulnerability. Like, that is not part of the training. Let me just tell you, like actuaries. Yeah, not the touchy-feely types as usually.
Well, I think what's cool about this, and I can ask this follow-up question, we'll close down this first episode, and we'll move to our next one. But because I know there's so much to dig into. But I think what's interesting about what you just said is that this is a skill that needs to be learned. So our audience is deep technical experts, like former nuclear engineers, or actually active nuclear engineers, or former actuaries, or whatever. Lawyers, consultants, account execs at big organizations, and they're typically taught their core expertise really, really well, but they're not taught how to communicate to people. So let's wrap up this episode in a bow, because I'd like your thoughts on, tell me if my thought is that how to communicate can be learned and that people will get results from it.
Yeah, so let me do I'm going to give you a double tap. First, in terms of content, here's what we always recommend when we're coaching CEOs is we have some activities for them to practice. And typically one of the early ones is the I don't know activity, which is, it's easy to say I don't know when you think you know. That's not the activity. The activity is to say I don't know even when you think you know. Is to pick 2 or 3 times a week and say I don't know. And then to observe, reflect on how that feels. First of all, how hard is it? What seems to get in the way? And then how's the team react? And that might not be the end of the sentence. It could be, I don't know, let's find out. I don't know, let's look it up. I don't know, let's run an experiment. But it's the I don't know activity. And it's really good. Keep a journal, note how you feel about it, trying at the end of the day, trying it at the beginning of the day, trying it in a meeting, trying in a situation where you're not expected to know the answer, try it in a situation where you're expected to know the answer, and then notice the variations. But to your second question is absolutely 100%. And I think this is where a lot of these leadership programs get off the rails. We're teaching leadership as if it's something like history. If it's an ethereal, abstract set of concepts and facts that I know. Tell me about the Treaty of Westphalia. What happened during the 30 Years' War? Blah, blah, blah. The problem is, this is not the right metaphor. The right metaphor is, we always we use sports analogies, and really language is the perfect metaphor. You're learning a new language. So if I said, well, so sometimes when we go to the client, they'll say, we want to make a big we want to change 10,000 people. I say, okay, great. Here's the activity. I want you to be able to run your company in English or Spanish in 12 months from now. We flip a coin, the meeting's going to be in Spanish or English. Go make a program for that. And if it's a workshop, we might give them 20 minutes. And if it's or a week or whatever. And they come back and say, well, here's what we would do. We would tap native Spanish speakers. We would practice a little bit a day. And we would practice this. We would post things in the company lunchroom, what the name of the refrigerator and the food is in Spanish, blah, blah, blah. And there's a lot of this practice, take a little bit, try. It's all about practice. There's no theory of learning Spanish. So I said, okay, great. Now, everywhere it says Spanish, just delete that and write intent-based leadership. This is exactly what you want to do for a leadership, or just a leadership program. This is how you teach leadership. It's about practice, and it's about the language, about the words that we say. So over and over again, I would find myself saying these. I would say, well, okay, don't ask, are you sure, but how sure are you? And then see the difference in the response from the team. And we package these up, by the way. We have a YouTube channel called Leadership Nudges, and I'll send you a link. And I invite everyone to enroll in these leadership nudges, little 1 minute, 90-second little blurbs, just like this last one, little things you can do.
Oh, David, I love it. That's the perfect wrap to this first episode. We've got 3 more coming with you, and then I'm even going to do one as a wrap for all that I've learned. That is the perfect first episode. Thank you.